In 2019, there came out a study from Harvard University. It was by a political scientist called Erica Chenoweth. You can Google it, Erica Chenoweth. And the research she has done extensively was the power of nonviolent protest to bring out change. And then her final analysis or the result of the research was just the 3.5% rule. That was the one catchword, the 3.5% rule. That she means if a particular community, a population, out of the population, if there are 3.5% people participate in a non-violent protest, there will surely be a change, a transformation happens in the community. So how did she came into that? She studied extensively a lot of non-violent protests. The first one she studied was the 1986 protest in the Philippines against Marcos, where millions of people rallied in the streets of Manila, praying and singing, lighting candles, a peaceful protest. Then she studied the protest in Georgia, in Estonia. It was called the Singing Revolution. Russia banned a lot of patriotic songs. They decided to sing that as a protest, non-stop. Singing revolution, which eventually bear fruit. Then there is in Georgia in 2003, against the regime, there was a revolution called Rose Revolution. The people bombarded the parliament with flowers. It was a protest. And all these protests against the violent protest were much more fruitful, to the point 56% was the success rate of any peaceful protest compared to 26% of non-violent protest. Including she studied the Gandhi revolution of peace and non-violent protest. But she was not focused on, she was only focused on the civil and political reason behind these protests, the 3.5% rule. In Australia, we have 26 million people, and 3.5% would be around 91, almost 100,000. So that's all it takes. It takes 100,000 people who believe in our cause. So if our two principals are here, you want a big transformation in your school, you only need 3.5% teachers who believes in you. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say this. They know much better than me. But it is, again, non-violent protest. Now, she's not concerned about the ethical or moral reason. So let me propose ethical and moral reason. Anyone who believes in a peaceful protest believes in the future, or believes in the joy that the future transformation brings. Or anyone who believes in violent protest, I would say they may be quite hedonistic. They want the result right now. They want to be gratified right now. They want the blood bleeding right now. That they will change, they will walk into a restaurant where they serve steak, maybe in Warwick, and they will chain themselves to the table, or they will put their hands in the mouth of the people who are cutting their steak. Animal extincts, the people who protest against climate change, they will chain themselves on public highways and bring so much destruction to public life. Such activism around these days, but they are not being successful. Historically, any peaceful protest has been successful because I would say they don't concentrate on what is happening now, but rather they concentrate on the future. Now, when we concentrate on the future and then we approach a peaceful protest, we are showing two characteristics. One is faith. Second is responsibility. What is faith? The courageous, somewhere here. Okay, let's go. Yeah, the courage, the faith means embodiment of courage to embrace the unknown future. The courage to embrace the unknown future. And what is the responsibility? I want to embrace the possibility of the future, and the responsibility is that I align my actions in the present moment so that my actions now will take me to the future possibility. I will not I will not jeopardize my future because of my self-serving, pleasurable or violent activities of the present time. But rather, my faith, which I believe if I do everything possible, I can transform the future. But that faith means then I have to be responsible of my present action, which means the responsibility means I have to sacrifice. Which means if I want to have a future of possibility, I become responsible. When I become responsible, I approach the life with, I embrace the principle of sacrifice in life. What is sacrifice in life? I sacrifice the present pleasurable things of now, and what gives me so much joy now, I sacrifice it for the future. If you take the example of Charlotte and Dottie, 7 weeks. It's a sign of sacrifice, because if you are looking after Dottie, you could watch Netflix and Dottie crying. I was like, keep crying, I'm not going to look at you. Because you are focused on, you are on pleasurable moments of now watching Netflix and Dottie crying. But as a mother, you will leave everything and invest in Dottie so that Dottie may have a future. But it comes from your faith that my daughter is going to be a bright future, a possibility. Well, because of that, you become responsible. And in your responsibility, you make sacrifices. We live in a young generation who are good at one thing, self-conscious. They're very self-conscious. They would have this 100 list of feelings. How do I feel today? Oh yeah, I feel sad. Oh no. We have created successfully the social media, a generation who is self-conscious. We need a generation who can think about the future. Not worry about the present. A generation who think about the future and prepare to sacrifice the lower realities of pleasures for future possibility. And anyone who lived and led a peaceful protest around the world, they are people who showed there is transformative power in the world. The world is intrinsically good. And if I align my actions here and now with the responsibility, and if I choose to sacrifice my own little pleasures, tomorrow I may bring about a better change in the world. These two people who traded with their talents, 5 and 2 talents, they could have watched Netflix. 5 talents, I leave it. Let me watch Netflix. They could have gone to the pub and keep drinking. But they decided, yes, I have 5 talents, which means now there is a responsibility, which means now I have to take sacrifice. I have to take risk. I have to meet the challenges. I have to trade them. It will go out of me. But they had intrinsic belief in the goodness of the talents. But the guy who buried the talent, the employer called him lazy. He only had time for himself. He never had to look at the power of the talent. The power of the talent. But probably because he didn't want to sacrifice. He was so comfortable. Many years ago, when I was in seminary, I always asked, can I go and do young people's preaching, or can I go and do ministry in school? My superior used to tell me, you're from India, you don't know the Australian culture. For almost 6 years, they did not allow me, because they thought you won't be able to connect with the young people. And there was priests who told me, Bonnie, young people in Australia, they are arrogant, they are reckless, they don't like church, hopeless, don't worry about it. Just do mass, just preach. Just bury people and eat good food, live your life. I could have done that. There was time my superiors say, when you finish your formation, go back to India. You may be good there. And I, somewhere in myself, I decided, maybe I am good in India. But then there was a dream in my heart. I didn't believe the way I looked. I was not concerned about the way my accent came across. I was more concerned about the talents God gave me. And if I put my effort into it, if I don't worry about the current despair and sorrows and pain and the tragedy or the judgments I get now, but rather I look at the future, and if I put some effort into it, I may become successful. And then I decided, I used to walk into schools and ask kids, hey, talk to me about your song that you like so I can use it in my homily. Teach me some of your things. And I mucked around with young people to learn their way of things, their way of doing. And after 8 years, when I got the first opportunity, I realized, yes, there is a talent. And if I put my effort by avoiding my self-serving, pleasurable, lazy self and sacrificing the now for a future, maybe God will use me. Yesterday, a letter was dropped out in the presbytery. It is from an Assumption Year 12 graduate. She's not Catholic, she doesn't come to church. Dear Father Bonnie, you are one of the most incredible people I know. You have this aura of kindness, approachableness, and fun that surrounds you. You have had such a huge impact on me. I don't think you realize just how much. You have changed my life for the better. Thank you for your unending kindness, wisdom, patience, and support, and for always focusing on the good in someone. Thank you always being there for me in good times and in bad. Thank you for teaching me about faith and helping me to see God's light in every area of life. You really are Jesus to me in this school. One day, I will need you to officiate my wedding. Faith, responsibility, sacrifice. If we can look beyond our sorry self and look at the talents that God has given us and align our actions in the present moment with the responsibility and choose to sacrifice, tomorrow our schools, our parishes, our young people will have a better future. And we see that in our community. We see that in our schools, where people who sacrifice come into leadership, changing our schools, changing our community. And every Sunday, we caught up in that story, a story of sacrifice for a better future. Eucharist is transformative. It helps us to sacrifice. Take me, eat me, take me and drink me.